Ron, you have made great contributions to the development of the city's public works in the 1950s and 1960s. Do you like to be remembered as the architect of Murray Building, a pioneer for sustainable building, or a government architect in Hong Kong?
Well, of course, I want to be, and would still like to be, linked with the Murray Building and its sustainability and is related to energy conservation. But of course, I did several other buildings in Hong Kong, not least of all with the City Hall, with my good friend and partner, Alan Fitch. From these buildings, and in particular the City Hall, I've formed an experience which has been a great contribution to the design of Murray Building.
Your design of Murray Building has been lauded as the pioneering example of sustainable architecture in Hong Kong. Do you think it is more than just energy saving?
Well, there is no question that in responding to the need for energy conservation, together with the interim difficulty of access, Murray Building developed its own architecture. For me as a modernist who follows the Bauhaus philosophy, it all fell into place much to my delight.
Thank you. Would you have designed the building as it was if you are to design it all over again?
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt that my thought process even now would remain the same, and I cannot see how my approach to the design would be any different.
What was your first reaction when you learned the Murray Building was to be converted to a luxury hotel rather than demolished, which was a common sight in Hong Kong amid rapid urban development? Are you happy with how it turns out now?
Well, I have to say my first reaction was one of great relief that the building was not to be demolished, and then even more delighted when I heard that the Norman Foster Partnership were to undertake the building's conversion to an hotel, whilst at the same time maintaining its full architectural integrity. On my being invited to assist at the design process developed was further reassuring, and the final outcome of the Foster Partnership was such a great success, and I was delighted to see after 50 years of Murray Building now regenerated as a Murray Hotel.
What is your view on heritage, as Hong Kong is not used to preserve and conserve? Are you aware of the recent revitalised Tai Kwan complex in Central? Do you think heritage conservation will be here to stay?
Well, I am now too remote from Hong Kong to know what the Tai Kwan complex in Central is, but on the subject of heritage, I'm sad that concern for saving of Hong Kong's architectural past did not start somewhat sooner. However, better than late than never, and I applaud the work being done by those so concerned and active.
Do you think the skyline of Hong Kong is as impressive as it was before anymore, and why?
That's an interesting question. The Hong Kong skyline is indeed still very impressive, but seeing the shapes of the elements as they relate to each other and to their background through the eyes of a painter and not an architect, I have to say my canvas would exclude one element in particular, that of a very high-rise building on the west foreshore, which in my opinion would upset the balance of my painting in that it includes or intrudes on the backcloth of the peak.
You were part of the modernist movement that was bold and rational and swept away the aesthetic excess of the past. What do you think of the evolvement of global architecture development over the years?
Well, I can only say that I've been very excited with global architectural development, and since when I was practicing, and so wish I could still be part of it. But alas, that is not to be.
The Star Ferry Pier and car park in Central and Queen's Pier were knocked down to make way for reclamation, and the piazza in front of the City Hall complex is not in front of a road and a large piece of land. What's your view on the demolition of historical buildings for urban development, and what should have been done instead to preserve the heritage?
This is an interesting but very difficult question to answer. But I would like to say that when revisiting Hong Kong in 2012 to celebrate the City Hall's 50th anniversary, I was first confronted with the environmental changes brought about by the relocation of Star Ferry and so disappointed to see the down-at-heel state of the Star Ferry car park and the area generally. I was very sad to see the one-time hub of the city brought about by the Statue Square and the surrounding buildings, Edinburgh Place, together with the City Hall and its seafront piazza, had lost its one-time vibrancy. With the loss of the volume of pedestrians heading to the pier in those days, it is difficult for me to see what redevelopment can now recover the loss of such a sense of community.
Why did you come to Hong Kong in the first place and leave after 13 years?
I was encouraged to come to Hong Kong by a friend who had arrived a year earlier, telling me of the wonderful opportunities to design and see through the many different building types with so much freedom. I reluctantly returned to the UK only after 13 years for reasons of personal matters.
So, Ron, what do you miss about Hong Kong?
Well, there's so much to say. What do I miss about Hong Kong? Well, for starters, it was the most stimulating and fulfilled period of my professional career. And this, of course, was coupled with a wonderful family life. And incidentally, the interviewer making this very film is one of the sons who was born there. I made many colleagues who became close friends and still in touch with. And it's interesting for me to remember that when I first arrived, almost immediately after I arrived, together with 25 other architects, we formed the Hong Kong Society of Architects, which making, of course, me a founder member, and it is still functioning and has in excess of over 3,000 members. Hong Kong has a very special place in my heart.
Hello.